Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I am Tanis Coughlin. I'm the founder of the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky. Jen, would you like to introduce yourself, please? She would, except she has apparently got internet issues. So what we do here usually on Twillow Talk is we'll see if Jen comes back. Usually what we do is have, quality, impromptu, authentic conversation about spirituality. And so I usually have to have a partner to do that. So, here she comes. There she is. Hello. This is my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky, who I had just introduced, and then you were off. So welcome back.
Yeah, it froze before the credits even finished. I was like, okay, it's going to be that kind of night. It is what it is.
So I don't know whether all of you know this, but we have had some connection issues for sure in the Ottawa area. And we were down, our internet was down here for, I think almost 2 days, a day and a half or so. And so we've still had some connectivity issues. So we thank you for your patience with all of this. We're hoping the rest of the show will go without complication, but thank you for your patience in advance. So I'm Tanis Coughlin, as I said, founder of Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy. I'm a Reiki master. I am an Aqua Lead master, crystal master, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess, as well as a channel and a galactic ambassador. And Jennifer Jurkofsky, would you like to talk to us about what you do, please?
Oh, sure. So I am Jennifer Jurkofsky. I'm with Twillow Lifestyle Academy as a practitioner and teacher. I also founder of My Holistic Self Counselling. So I do psychotherapy, counseling, life coaching. I use my Reiki because I'm also a Reiki master, Aqua Lead master, Nocti practitioner. And I use the Enneagram. I use human design. I use a lot of, bringing in the spiritual to my practice.
Awesome. And so I was just telling them that what we do is we have authentic conversations. That's what I was telling them while you were gone. So what we'll do is we'll pick a card and then we just talk authentically about the topic. So for those of you that it's your first time here, usually what we're doing is picking from this deck here, the Diane Cooper and Greg Stewart deck, the wisdom cards. And so let's see what we get today. So we'll do the shuffle and see what comes up.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's authentic and raw, and sometimes with internet glitches. Yes. Oh, we have inspiration today. Ooh,
there we go.
lovely.
So I shall read this to you. Inspiration flows from the right brain. So attuning to that part of your consciousness links you into an ocean of wisdom. There you move into your unbounded self and can access unique creative ideas which set you free. New ideas and concepts are waiting to come through. Do not be limited by logical and rational left brain thinking. It is time to think laterally and stretch the horizons of your mind. You will inspire those around you and expand your personal and business life. And there's always an affirmation on the card. So the affirmation for this one, I am open to inspiration. So very cool. That's kind of a fun, I feel like that's very joyful in its energy, inspiration. It feels like fun, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So what does
when
it
you're
feel
able
like
to access that creative, open energy where you can be inspired, right? Where you can bring new things, that creation piece. Definitely. When you're in that place where you feel stuck and like you can't grasp inspiration, it's a pretty horrible feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the whole right brain, left brain piece. It reminded me of a book that I absolutely love. It's called No Self, No Problem. And it really talks about, neuroscience in relation to Buddhist belief. And it's really cool. And one of the things that he talks about in the book is he really gets into the whole right brain, left brain. And and how they've been able to actually study the differences between the two hemispheres of the brain. And that right side of our brain is where all inspiration comes from, that we have connection to. It doesn't come in from the left side, it comes in from the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought that was really interesting. I talk about that with clients too, and also it was really neat to see it there on the card.
Yeah, I bet. So, there's a question in there. So is inspiration from us or is it from our guides? Because I used to ask that, and then I just assumed, well, I get everything from the guides, like what part of us is our creative brain working and what part is divine inspiration sort of thing. It's an interesting question, and I'm not sure that we really can answer it completely, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Well, I think how we answer is going to really depend on our belief system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So depending on, what we think, is the brain really everything that science tells us that the brain is? And if it is, then yeah, that right brain is doing all the work and it's coming off from there.
Right.
That being said, the right brain is the receptive side of us. It is the part of us that is more connected to our true self. It is more connected to our guide. The left brain can't connect to all of that. And so if we're looking at it from that perspective, the right brain is the one that's going to bring in that information.
Right.
Right. And then the left brain's going to go, ooh, haha, I've had a moment of realization. And the right brain's going to go, yeah, I don't care if you take credit for it, just do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's true. I think, for me, I sort of think that I'm never alone, So where that receptivity comes in, who's bringing it in and who's, that's kind of, because it goes into discernment too, when you're doing that, right? So you have to look at the discernment piece of that too. Where is that coming from? Is it good source? Is it not so good source?
Right.
And then you're getting into is it a good creative idea or maybe not a good creative idea? I mean, most creation is good, right? It's a matter of what we do with it.
Yeah, and I like to think inspiration, just from the word itself, is looking at the good, creative stuff. Right? It's inspired. There's this, it's coming in. And I remember a long time ago reading something or hearing something, and it talked about the muses sending inspiration on the waves. And if we are able to be quiet and present, we can grab that and go, yeah, oh, that inspiration is definitely for me. And then we can bring something forward. But if we're busy and we're in our brain and we're in that place of just trying to think everything through and we're not open to it, then the wind just carries it on to the next person to say, okay, well, let's see if this person can pick up the inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always stuck with me as far as, we talk about mindfulness and we talk about being present and we talk about being open and all of those things. In order for inspiration to come and to blossom, we need to be all of those things.
Yeah, and open to receiving it.
Yeah.
So, because that's a cool picture, actually, that it's like kind of on the wind. I was seeing like that visual, right? Almost like a feather or a leaf, and that's like a seed of wisdom that you're flying by. It's kind of cool, and you just have to pluck it out of the air and go, okay, I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
Right. Yeah, but it's interesting because you talk about the other stuff too, and I do think that sometimes if we're in a place of pain, if we're in a place where we're suffering, something might look like inspiration, but it's really more of that sneaking whisperer or that pain body that's trying to feed. It's more of that part of us that, wants to bring about suffering for somebody else, or is just trying to end our suffering in a way that isn't necessarily what we're meant to do. Sometimes we're meant to go through suffering. And so if you have something that comes, an inspiration or I'm going to say, if you have something that comes, really being able to sit with it to determine, is this inspiration? Is this something that's going to guide me towards where I want to go, towards the light, towards that which is not just good for me, but good for the greater good, right? Or is this something that could potentially cause more pain, right? And determine, is it inspiration? Is it grasping for something that maybe isn't what we're supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good way of looking at it in terms of like really sitting with it, to feel into it, right? Really thinking about it in terms of bringing it into the heart space, and then listening to your body and what's your body telling you. Is it feeling, are you clenching your, is your stomach or your heart clenching? And if so, maybe not the best thing for you. And just because it's not the best thing for you doesn't mean that it's not good for somebody else too, right? And so that's kind of why I liked your imagery of that floating by, right? So that's not good for me. I'm not going to grab that one, but it might be great for, Susie down the road or whatever, because they're in the right place for that versus where you're
if the inspiration came to sing a song, it's not for me. I'm not a singer. It's okay.
You can sing. Just because you don't think you're a singer doesn't mean you can't sing.
No. I mean, like to bring it out to the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just have to. Yeah.
But somebody else can gladly pick that up.
Yeah. 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 And that's okay. We all have our own strengths. And sometimes, but really those things, anything that I think comes in inspiration is much more like we need to, I feel like we need to do it more for the journey, for the actually process. So like even your singing example, for instance, right? If you're inspired to sing, you should sing, whether you do it by yourself
I know.
or a lot or with other people is up to you. But I think if the inspiration strikes you, then
and I do sometimes. I'm just joking.
I know. I'm just using it as an example.
One thing though that is coming to me too to talk about is like on the human design side of things, we have what is called the authority. And so each of us have our own authority. So I'm a splenic authority. I very much get that gut kind of, okay, yeah, do this, or no, don't do that, or, whatever. But it's a very much a in the moment, very spontaneous, like do this now kind of thing. Whereas some people have like the solar plexus, they're like more of the like they get that right kind of feeling towards things.
I think that might be more mine. Is that what mine is in authority?
Yeah, there's people who are emotional authorities. They have to ride the waves of the emotion in order to, I think that might be mine. Where they have to ride the waves of the emotion, right? If they make a decision immediately, they haven't rode through all the waves, so they don't really know if that's what's right for them or not. Whereas somebody who is like, say, self-projected, they have to speak it. They have to actually like hear themselves say it to say, yeah, okay, that feels good. Or no, that doesn't feel right.
Right.
And so because we have, and there's more, but because we have all of these different authorities, I think that it's important when we're looking at things like inspiration to understand that they might come to us all very differently.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And so how does that compare then to, how would the authority be compared to sort of like your clairs, right? Like is there a correlation between the authorities with human design and the clairs? Like, and when I'm talking about clairs, just for clarity for our viewers, it's it's about the clairvoyance, clairaudience, those kinds of things. So I'm just wondering if there is a comparison there.
It's something I haven't actually really thought about. So it's a really cool thing that you're bringing up. But I would think maybe somebody who, like for me, I will sometimes hear, I used to see more than I do now. Like I had shut that off for a long time, but I feel everything. And I feel it. And no matter how much, even as a kid, I didn't want to feel it, I would feel it. And so that very much is in line with my splenic authority, right? I just feel it. I just know there's something there. The vision, being able to see it, is more seeing it through kind of your mind's eye for me. It's not necessarily, I mean, there have been times where I've been able to physically see, but for the most part, it's not.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if there's a connection in that way to the clairs. I don't know, because now I'm thinking about like our centers and the third eye center, and that's, you know, if it's defined or undefined, does that make a difference? Right? And
Well,
things
that's
like
an
that.
interesting
So
concept. We should
yeah,
do
that's
some
maybe
research
something I'm
on
gonna
that.
have to look into before I
Yeah.
answer that one more.
No, but it's cool though that it's, you know, that it came up today. It's kind of inspired.
Yeah.
So-
We going back to inspiration.
yeah, that's so it's interesting. It's an interesting thought, you know, like where do we get our inspiration in terms of the part of the body? So yeah, I mean, I tend to feel things. You know, I'm an empath and a physical empath, so I will often feel differences in good or bad energy, sort of thing. And if I feel for me, I feel for that tension in my body. If there's tension when I think of something, may not be the best thing. Um, if there isn't tension and I'm relaxed around it, then there's no resistance kind of thing to it. So then I find it's good. Like that's kind of how I do the discernment piece. But you know, inspiration sometimes if we're blocked in terms of like a writer's block or something like that, then we feel disconnected, you know, from source, or disconnected from the other stuff that can bring us inspiration, right? The muses that you were talking about earlier. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and those blocks, I mean, they can come from so many different places. And it was really interesting going back to the card, right? Because it talked about the left brain. And
Mm.
so a lot of the work that we do, especially in dealing with like mental health and mental wellness and all of that, is like where are we focused? Where are our thoughts all the time? What is going on that keeps us kind of trapped, right? What keeps us stuck? What do we keep going back to that allows that, you know, stops us from being able to hear what's going on around us, to know and be present with our reality as it is right now, right? So when we talk about trauma and things like that, like often it's going back to those trauma experiences and not being able to be fully present with right now. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're living in some other time, right? You know, that whole power of now thing, but it's really about like being present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're reliving the past or you're worrying about the future, you're not in the present and you're not going to get that inspiration when it comes, or you're not going to necessarily recognize it or be able to pick it up.
Right. Yeah. And so I guess, you know, in terms of emotions, if we're stuck in our fear body, it lowers the vibration. So we're not connected as much. So the inspiration doesn't come. So I think that's kind of what you're saying, right? Is we're blocked off
It's
more
not that
because
it
of
doesn't
fear.
come, but we just don't catch it or we don't see it,
Right.
right? Like if if I want something to be a certain way and I'm very stuck on that and it has to be that way, and then something else comes and it'll still get me what I want, but it's not that way, I'm going to miss
Mm-hmm.
it potentially, right? And I'm going to go, oh, no, it's this, right? And then all of these different things that come, these inspirations, these opportunities, whatever, I'm not going to see them because they're not showing up the way I've decided it has to.
Right. Yeah. Because we want to control how we get our information.
Yeah. And inspiration doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm. No. But that's the nice thing about being in the present moment, right? So that's when we find inspiration, I think, is really being present with where you're at the moment. Like, you know, that's where you notice the butterfly going by and it gives you inspiration, or, you know, inspiration for transformation, for instance, because butterflies are all about transformation. So, yeah, I think being mindful and being in the moment, like you said, if you're living in the past or the present, or past or the future, I should say, then it's much harder to even realize that that's happening, that you're receiving. You don't see it.
No, because you're too caught up, right? Watching, like, you ever see, and like, you know, it's like somebody who's really into a TV show and they're just,
Totally
right?
focused.
And you're like,
Yeah.
hello. hello, Queen.
Hello, I'm here. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
again, it's that if our focus is on something that we've decided this is it, this is what that's it, right? And we don't ever allow ourselves to see or feel what's happening around us, or even what's happening within us, as you said, right? We miss it.
Yeah, like really checking in with ourselves in terms of being in the flow, right? What do we need right now is a big question. But being in the flow is how you're going to really sort of tap into that inspirational thought that comes through. So not trying to control what you think. So expectations get in the way then of inspiration, because if we expect something to happen a certain way and then inspiration comes in to try and dissuade us to do it a different way, but we have expectations of it being this way, then one, we don't enjoy it. It's usually resistance because it's not what we expect. And we sometimes will miss that inspirational thought, or we'll miss the inspirational opportunity, I think.
Yeah. I mean, when we look about, control and expectation, because they kind of go hand in hand, right? If we expect something, then we try to control it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, you're in this place of, okay, well, I want, to make this thing happen. How am I going to make this thing happen? And so you might be looking for opportunities or looking for ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
But if you're able to just stay open and curious, right, to stay in a place where, you're willing to just see what comes,
Mm-hmm.
you're much more open to being inspired.
Yeah.
And finding a path that really works, forcing it, pushing it, trying to fit a certain way.
And I think that's the state that people talk about, being in receptive mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to receive.
Definitely.
In that receptive mode. Yeah. So we're having a little bit of a delay for Jen's, or at least I'm having a delay on Jen's. So I'm not sure whether that's happening everywhere, but having a bit of a delay there. Yeah. So I think that inspiration is it's a beautiful concept if we can allow the control to be released and be in that receptive mode. So what do you define as inspiration? Like, because we could talk about inspirational quotes. We could talk about, because it's interesting, because I was in a store and they had a whole bunch of books, and they had inspiration as the topic section for this books thing. So I was thinking like it would be like self-help books about inspiring action, inspiring goals, inspiring transformation, and it was there was some of that, but there was also a lot of sort of religious-based books as well. And I thought, so that is an interesting thought, because that again goes back to sort of what your belief system is and what you find inspiring, because I think that inspiration is a very personal thing, right? So for me, like, inspiration is something that gives you hope and gives you action. That's kind of how I see it. If something gives you hope and an idea, and it inspires you into action, or moves you into an action, that's kind of what I see as inspiration. What do you think about it in terms of that?
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm really delayed, but I absolutely love that hope and action.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. We talk a lot about, when I'm doing counseling and things like that, I talk a lot about valued action, right? And where does your action come from? And is it moving you towards what you want in life, or is it moving you away from what you want in life? Right. And I think that when it comes to inspiration, like you said, it can come from so many different places, and it really is going to depend on what we find inspiring. But I think that a big piece in all of it is, again, that if it moves you to feel joy, if it moves you to feel hope, if it moves you to feel love, if it moves you to feel, altruism, if it moves you for any of those, wonderful things that we want to bring into our reality, then it's inspiring.
Mm-hmm. So if we could define it as moving us to a higher vibration, really, right? Because those higher vibration are those kinds of emotions that you were talking about, hope and love. And so if it moves us towards those higher vibration emotions, or it allows us to experience those higher vibration emotions, then that could be considered an inspirational thought.
Yeah. And I mean, inspiration doesn't have to be to suddenly be, composing an orchestra or writing a book or changing jobs or, all of those kinds of things. Inspiration can be as simple as, putting a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm. Or
Putting a
somebody
smile on
else's.
somebody else's face.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be very simple and still be very inspiring.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but so who would you find inspiring, for instance?
Oh my, well, with my background and all of that, I go through all of the different, teachers and the Sufis and all of the guides and all of that kind of stuff to find my inspiration. But then I say that, and then I think of like, my cats can be inspiring. My kids can be inspiring.
Exactly.
I could,
Yeah.
walk down the road and see a neighbor doing something in their garden and be like, ooh, that's awesome.
Inspiring.
Okay, I want to do something like that, right? So honestly,
Yeah.
anything can be inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
How about you? Did you have somebody like in mind as you were thinking that, or?
I'm like you. I'm thinking of sort of those teacher people, like Brene Brown and even Oprah to a certain extent. I mean, I know there's been some stuff around that, but she inspires hope in a lot of people in what she has been able to accomplish in her lifetime. People like Mother Teresa inspire hope in humans. But you're right, you can just see those people. There's so many on like YouTube, for instance, the ones that pay it forward. They inspire hope in humanity, which is awesome. I mean, that's we have our mascot, folks. Yeah. She likes to come in and
inspires
chat.
me to relax and
to
make sure I get my needs met.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Not
often on with us.
Afraid to put it and say, I need this. So I think that's it too. Like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, just that comment, like, I need to get my needs met, right? Like, we think sometimes that that's such a difficult thing, and it can be, depending on our situation and our circumstances and the people that we're around and all of that. And yet, it can be an inspiring thing to have, the ability to go, oh no, I actually do need this, and I can say something about it, and I can address it, right? And so inspiration can even come in knowing ourselves better, understanding ourselves more, understanding who we are truly, and coming back to that true self piece. Like, there's a lot of teachings that talk about how we have to be inspired to even want to come to that, right? And so when we really think about it, it's kind of at the core of all things that move us forward.
Yeah, that motion into action, right? They move you into action. For sure. I think that really is the crux of it in many ways, right?
Yeah.
So Anyway, folks, we are actually going to have a shorter one tonight because we have some other engagements to get off to. So, but we wanted to come on and just share a short one with you tonight. So, welcome to our Twillow Talk of Inspiration. And it's been a pleasure being here. I just want to remind you a little bit of a couple of things that are coming up this week with the Twillow Lifestyle Academy. We have a couple of classes this week. We've got a general trauma release monthly class with Dr. Karen, and that's on Tuesday, so tomorrow at 7. So please sign up for that soon or you'll miss out on it. There will be another one next month, but it's once a month. And Thursday, we have our holistic nutritionist, Nicole, is going to be teaching a class about raising your vibration through nutrition basics. So that's a good one. I've sat in on that. That's an awesome one too. So, check out the website, and it's under classes and stuff, classes and workshops on twillowlifestyle.ca. And we're working on our fall schedule for all of the classes at the Twillow Lifestyle Academy. And so stay tuned for more information on that as we go forward. And did you have anything you wanted to share for the week, Jen?
I don't have anything coming up this week as far as like workshops or classes or things like that.
Yeah.
But I know, Tanis and I are working on some stuff, so stay tuned. I know our plan is to stay pretty engaged on our Monday nights. So hopefully we will see you guys either next Monday or the following. And
yeah. So thank you all for joining us. I'm Tanis Coughlin from Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy. And this is
Jennifer Jurkofsky with My Holistic Self Counseling.
Awesome. And we thank you all for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, join us next week. See you then.